Very important thing that I wanted to bring up to your attention, and this is something that you probably didn't know about. Everyone talks about gabapentin, and gabapentin is something that builds your tolerance quickly, or you build your tolerance to gabapentin very quickly, and it's very addicting and whatnot. And this is something that I learned about gabapentin that you may not be aware of. So the fact about gabapentin is the higher the dose of gabapentin, the lower its bioavailability. I will repeat it for you. So the higher the dose you take of gabapentin, the lower its bioavailability. For example, and these are actual facts. So yeah, take a look at the data taken from FDA.gov. So oral bioavailability of gabapentin is not dose proportional, meaning that the more you take, the lesser bioavailability is, so the absorption decreases. So this whole idea that I build tolerance to gabapentin quickly and this drug is very addicting because I gotta take more and more and more. But again, we are dealing with opiate withdrawals, guys. And if you have ever had cold turkey opiate detox, opiate withdrawals, you know that your level of withdrawals will intensify on day 3. So let's use an example. So on day 1 of your withdrawals, let's assume that we are using a scale from 1 to 10, where 10 is the worst. On a scale from 1 to 10, your withdrawals on day 1 could be at 5. So you decide to take 800 milligram gabapentin 3 times a day. Now day 2 comes and we feel even worse, so we decide to take more gabapentin. But because withdrawal intensifies and the bioavailability of the medication decreases, we feel like our tolerance grew and we gotta take more and more and more and more. And it's simply not the case. I will show you the actual facts and statistics based on averages, what exactly the bioavailability is if you use the drug 3 times a day in equal amounts. So look at these numbers. 900 milligrams taken per day has a bioavailability of 66%. So this is the highest as it goes. And now let's look at other numbers. So anything over 1,000, bioavailability drastically goes down. So 1,200 milligrams per day taken in 3 different increments has a 46% bioavailability. 2,400 milligrams, 34. So if you go down the list, you can see that 4,800 milligram dose of gabapentin has a bioavailability of 27%. And in my example here, I'm using 900 milligram dose compared to 3,600 milligram dose. So if you take 900 milligrams per day, you will probably absorb on average 594 milligrams. Now look at 3,600 milligram dose. Because the bioavailability is half of what in the previous example, on average a human being will absorb about under 1,200 milligrams. So you take 4 times the amount of gabapentin, but you're barely absorbing twice as much. So this is the trick that many people are not getting with gabapentin. And this is for a regular person that's taking gabapentin for a nerve pain, for example. But imagine using gabapentin for opiate withdrawals. And I already said it twice, but I'll say it again. So let's imagine that you're taking gabapentin day 1 and then you're feeling worse on day 2, and then day 3 and day 4 are the worst. You feel like you gotta take more and more and more. You might need to take more than previously, but your body will simply not be able to absorb that much at the same rate. So yeah, don't expect miracles, and also do not think that gabapentin isn't working. It's just the way this drug is designed, and this is not something I made up. This is something that was shared with me when people were talking about that the more they take, the more they need, and the tolerance gets built fast, and people really talk negatively about this medication. In any event, I just wanted to bring this to your attention so you can hopefully understand what gabapentin is all about. And trying to go back here to my first slide, this is basically all based on my research. Gabapentin could be a life-saving medication for opiate withdrawals, but I do not believe that you do need to take more and more and more just to ease the symptoms, because it may not help. And again, we all know that getting clean and sober is one thing, but staying clean and sober is something different. So please do not confuse gabapentin as a medication that could cure addiction.